Could there be a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood streaming miniseries? And Cannibalism will save us all, apparently. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
It's a me,
Dario!
Woohoo! Let's go!
Okay, so we're living in the upside down world here, people. Everybody's gone crazy. Everybody and their mother has gone crazy. I don't even get it. So before I get into the crazy news, let me do this first. If you want to listen to the show, you can find it in the iHeartRadio app. Just type in the show presents Super Dario World, or you can find it on SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes as Super Dario World Podcast. Any comments, questions, suggestions, you can always find me on Instagram at Dario the Show. Today I'm feeling a little better, so I'll probably start getting... I always answer everybody. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer. I've been kind of in a mood the last few weeks, and I haven't really wanted to chat that much, but I will. I'll probably get into it today. After I'm gonna go to the IT screening today, so after that, who knows? I'll probably do it. I don't know. I'm feeling better. Like I've accepted the fate of my lizard being gone, and so once acceptance, after that it gets easier, and so. Hopefully, I'll get back into that. I'll get back into the rhythm of things. That's it. I need to get back into my old rhythm of things. But anyway, I want to talk about the couple of news things that I found interesting and not crazy. For starters, Quentin Tarantino, director of the summer hit Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that stars Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie. He mentioned that he's mulling over the idea of making it into a streaming miniseries with more content, and it allows you to spend a little bit more time with the characters that you enjoyed from the movie. Apparently, it's going to be something similar than what he did with The Hateful Eight on Netflix. Not exactly how similar, because honestly, I haven't seen that Hateful Eight thing. Now that I know it's on Netflix, I'll check it out. But I've heard people who liked it. I haven't done it. But I've heard it's good. And so I can actually see myself spending time with these characters, because I mentioned this before when I did the review for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is one of my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio characters. Among my favorite. It was one of his most enjoyable performances to watch. I'm not saying it's his best performance, but I think it was a very enjoyable character. Dude was funny. He was very paranoid. He was so... I think there was a lot of projection going on there in a weird way. Like, I don't want to do spoilers or anything, but it's an interesting time and place. It's an interesting context. The whole situation is great. There was a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up in the film still. So, honestly, I would enjoy watching it. I would very, very much enjoy spending a little bit more time with those characters in that world, in that time period. So, if he did with Inglourious Bastards, I would enjoy that as well. So that'd be cool. When asked about it, Brad Pitt mentioned this, and I'm just going to quote him. On the other hand, I look at a series where you can spend much more time on characters and story and explore angles you don't always get to do in films. So much of these films end up in the cutting room floor because they just don't fit in that box. That's why I think it's interesting that Tarantino took The Hateful Eight and ostensibly repurposed it as a three-part series. It's almost the best of both worlds. You have the cinema experience that exists, but you can actually put more content into the series format. So that's, in a nutshell, why I think TV's kicking films' ass. Just because the quality of TV has gone up so much in the past few years, especially now that movie stars are doing TV, and so the quality's gone up. And you get to spend more time in worlds that are more interesting. You develop a little bit better. So, yeah, I think this would be a smart idea and would be enjoyable. And I would be very, very happy to watch it. So, hopefully that happens. Moving on to Batman news. Well, it's not really Batman news, but I read this interview from Christian Bale where he gives the advice that he gave to Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson about playing Batman. So I'm just going to read the whole quote of Christian Bale when they asked him, like, what does he think of the casting choice of Robert Pattinson for Batman? Good choice. He's interesting. I'm sure he'll come up with something really interesting. Oh, and when they asked him what advice he gave him, Oh, the same as for Ven. Just to be able to pee by yourself. You don't feel much like a superhero when you can't take a piss by yourself. So I'm guessing that the Batsuit in Batman Begins did not have a fly, or was like a one piece, and he couldn't take a leak. So I did not know that, and that's fun information. So all right, now we know that during Batman Begins, at least, Batman can't pee. I knew about the neck thing. I knew that he cannot turn his neck, and that's hysterical, and actually became a plot point in The Dark Knight. So why didn't they make like a plot point about him trying to take a leak? I don't know. I think it would have been funny. It would have been maybe a little stupid, but I would have found it funny. Not very classy, I'll give you that, but still funny. Anyway, so now we come to the dumb news of the day, and we talked about this during the show, but it's just so freaking stupid. And if you know me, I love stupid things. I love it. So I'll just read you the headlines. Swedish scientist floats eating human flesh as solution to global climate change. So cannibalism is going to save us from climate change. Now, I've gotten some heat and some love for this. I've mentioned it before on the podcast. I've done a couple of episodes where I just rip on global warming. I need to make two things clear. I do 100% believe that humans are responsible for a dramatic change in the planet's climate. Like, I accept that. We are responsible. However, I don't think that it's as big a deal, or it's going to be as big a deal as they want to sell us, as they're trying to sell it. I think that they're trying to scare us into A, buying more things, and B, voting for a particular type of people who is apparently very woke about this. Why do I believe that? I've broken it down in other podcasts, but it's because the people that I've heard this from are meteorologists who are the most unreliable people ever. You could be a meteorologist, be wrong every single day of your life, and you still would have a job. So I've heard that my entire life. And B, politicians, who, again, I've always heard are liars. And if a politician is trying to sell you something, it's for a reason. If they're talking about something, it's for a reason. And I don't trust these bastards. Anyway, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but the point is, I don't think that the world's going to end in 11 years, and I'm pretty sure that technology will take us out of this whole global warming, all this whole, earth-shattering global warming. A good example of this is, and actually, I found out about this recently in the Joe Rogan podcast. I had no idea, and I looked it up. Apparently, we have the technology to recycle carbon dioxide. So CO2, the whole thing that's going to kill us all and killing the atmosphere. Well, apparently we have there's a power plant in Texas that all the carbon dioxide that it sends to the atmosphere, it sucks it up and recycles it and uses it again. So it's clean, it's renewable energy, and we already have it in the States. Why we don't do that everywhere? I have no idea. It's almost like somebody has an agenda. Why aren't we talking about this more? It sounds like the perfect solution to CO2. It's almost like somebody has an agenda. Why don't we do more nuclear stuff? Because nuclear energy is clean, it's renewable, it's the most reliable source of energy that we have, and it's probably going to be the energy source. I mean, we use it to power submarines and ships, and we've never had an issue. The only issue that's ever really been a big deal, other than Japan, is Chernobyl, and that happened in the worst country in the world. It's because it's almost like somebody doesn't want to do it for their own political agenda. So, to me, basically, the thing is, I did not watch the whole 7 hours of the whole CNN town whatever about global warming, but I saw the highlights, and I heard a lot of problems. Didn't hear a single solution. Did not hear a single solution other than stupid stuff that will never be done. Like, hey, how are we going to do this? Well, we'll get rid of all the fuel. What? And how will we move? And okay, and how about you practice what you preach? If you want us to get rid of out of all the fuel, how about if you don't ride a gas guzzler? How about if you don't ride a limousine? How about if you don't fly in an airplane? Do that, and I'll start believing you that there's actually a problem. If you think that the water levels are going to go so high, and I mean so high that entire cities are going to disappear, Miami's going to disappear, San Diego, I'm right here in San Diego, I'm going to be drowning. If you're telling me that's going to happen, then why did the Obamas just buy a $60 million house right on the beach? Tell me. What? It's almost like if if somebody is trying to trick us, almost like if somebody has a fucking agenda. Anyway, the only reason I bring that up is because I keep finding more and more evidence that it tells me that it's not really a big deal and they're just trying to sell you something. They are. At least that's my humble opinion. Anyway, my point here that I'm trying to make is that something as crazy as global warming brings out the crazies, right? It's a crazy thing. It requires crazy solutions, and the solutions that they're coming up with are not any way, shape, or form have their feet in reality. Exhibit A, cannibalism. So cannibalism is an option to save us from global warming. Now, let me do the math here. So theoretically, cannibalism would mean, I'm just going to try to follow this down a logical path. Cannibalism is because if we eat humans, and by the way, they're not saying about killing people to eat them. It's we eat our dead, right? By the way, more people are being born than are dying, and that's actually a big issue in the planet because of overpopulation, which, whatever, doesn't really matter. Let's not argue about that right now. But okay, so we're eating our dead. First off, humans don't really have that much meat on them. It's one of the lucky reasons why we're not really, we weren't really prey for a lot of animals because it's not really worth it. Getting a human, you didn't really get much out of us. So that's point one. Point two, I believe it's been historically proven and medically proven, scientifically proven, let's just say scientifically proven, that eating humans is bad for you. In fact, cannibalism amongst most species has been proven to not be a healthy thing. Apparently, there's a protein there that gets produced that affects your brain. Members of a certain species are not designed to eat other members of the same species. So I remember this. I have this one. I'm just speaking out of my butt because this is one of those urban legends or urban myths that you hear. I grew up in Tijuana, Mexico, and they've always told me never go into a taco stand if there are no dogs around, because that means that they're cooking dog. So because dogs won't eat other dogs, they won't eat their dog meat. So if there's no dogs around, that means that, because it's out in the open, you can smell the meat, that would attract animals. So if there are no dogs nearby, that means that they're probably cooking dog meat. So avoid those. Now, how real is that? I'm not sure. I haven't read any studies on that about dogs and taquerias, but it does go to the point that throughout history, there's this idea that cannibalism, even in other species, has been documented to not be a good thing, not be a healthy thing to do. Now, in case of extreme situations like the dudes who were caught in the plane on a mountain, I get it. But overall, as part of your diet, not a good idea. And so what I'm guessing here is that they're saying, okay, so if we eat more humans, that means that we'll need less cows, right? And those damn farting cows that are causing global warming. Now, again, one human versus one cow. What do you think are the amounts of meats that you can get? Also, what kind of meat can you get? Can you only eat the meat of your ancestors? Would you even want to? Can you only buy meat of strangers? Do you have to buy it? Do you have to, like, say, for example, if I die right now, who's going to sell my body? Like, does the money go to my family? Does my family are the only ones that get the right to eat me? How does all this work? The logistics are insane. They are insane. Also, it's well, the guy here, the Swedish scientist, says he knows this is crazy. He knows it's too taboo. He knows the idea is too conservative. But maybe we could start by eating our pets. So after they die, we eat our pets. Now, I don't know about you, but the whole idea of eating somebody or something that I loved is kind of disgusting. And having somebody else eat something or someone I love is infuriating, disrespectful, and blood-boiling. Just because, we associate the people we know via their physical form, which is the only way that we can actually have contact with them. Well, provable way that we can have contact with them. So that's why bodies are kind of important to us. That's why we tend to respect the bodies of the dead and all that stuff. It's because, honestly, think about it. The only contact that you have with somebody is through their physical form. If somebody doesn't have a body or their body doesn't work, you can't communicate with them at all. Yeah. So that's why we value them so much. And so, all right, do that thought exercise. Your dog dies. And you're like, all right, well, do you go to the butcher? Do you have to chop it up yourself? How do you know if it wasn't? What if it was an old dog? What if it was a skinny dog? Again, dog meat compared to a cow. One cow, let's say one cow has, I'll give you 1,000 pounds of food. And I'm being super, super, super much. It's a small cow. It's a tiny cow. And I'm not even considering leather. I'm not even considering milk. I'm not considering anything. I'm going to say 1,000 pounds. And let's say it takes 3 years to grow, to its full size. I don't know that much about cows. I'm just pulling numbers out of my butt. So in 3 years, you get 1,000 pounds of food, right? Now, again, just meat. I'm not saying milk. I'm not saying anything else. I'm not saying glue. I'm not saying anything else. So 3 years, 1,000 pounds. Your dog. Now, I have big dogs. They are American Akitas. They are between 70 and 90 pounds. But I'll give you an average. Let's say an average for people. Let's say you have a 50-pound dog. Let's say half of that is bone, which it should be more, but let's just say half. I'll give it to you. Half of that is bone, and half of that is fur. So you get 50. So out of 50 pounds, half of that you can't use. So I'll give you get 25 pounds of food. 25 pounds. And how long do dogs live? Because I'm assuming you're not just going to raise dogs to kill them. We had a whole big fight in Korea over that. It wasn't really a fight. It was kind of like a political thing. But the point is, we don't like the idea of dogs getting killed because dogs are, fun fact, the animal that has the socialized part of their brain that most closely resembles a human's social part of the brain are dogs, more than primates. So dogs actually understand humans way better than primates understand humans. It's a very interesting fact. Dogs are super interesting, and if you think about it, it makes sense because dogs evolved from wolves via interaction to humans. So for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, dogs have been evolving with humans. The only reason why dogs exist and they're not wolves is because humans. That's their interactions with us led to the creation of dogs, pretty much. Right, and also breeding and all that stuff. So they've grown and developed and socialized with us, and so the social part of their brains understands humans better. A big example of this, like the perfect example of it, is pointing. Pointing is a very human thing, and it's something that at a very early age, even toddlers, sometimes even babies, can understand that if I point somewhere, I don't want you to look at my finger. I want you to look at the direction on which my finger's pointing. Now, most animals, if you point, like let's say cats or primates, they have a really hard time understanding that you don't want them to look at your finger. You want them to look at what's beyond your finger in that direction. So dogs actually catch up on this pretty quickly. And I mean pretty quickly. Test your dog. If you have a dog, honestly, it's a very interesting test. You don't even realize it. Test a cat, he'll follow your hand. Test a dog, and he will look in that direction. It's really interesting. Dogs' brains are super fascinating, and I love them. And the point is, you ain't eating my fucking dog, all right? Nobody's eating my fucking dog. But before I get to that, let me finish up. So you get a mathematical equation. So you raise your dog. Let's say they live an average of 10 years, because some smaller dogs live longer. Bigger dogs live, shorter lives. But let's say on average, most of the dogs I have, let's say 10 years. Hopefully not, because my baby Shelby, she's 9, I think, getting close to 10. So I'm hoping it's more. So let's say 10 years. So in 10 years, you got 25 pounds of food, versus with a cow, in 3 years you'd get 1,000. And you know what? I'll look that up. How long does it take for a cow to develop? Any guesses? Like, honestly, I'm just typing it up. Remember, the goal here is to grow and put muscle. These are called finishing cattle, and they are fed and are taken care of to reach around 1,000 to 1,200 pounds. which is usually around 18 months old. So at 18 months, I was wrong at the time. I was kind of there on the pounds. So an 18-month-old cow is over 1,000 pounds. Great. So let's say we do the same math that I did with the other ones, and let's say half of that is not usable as food. So I was wrong on the food. So let's say 500 pounds of food in 18 months. 18 months. 500 pounds of food versus 10 years. Or, I mean, if you want me to, I'm not going to do the months thing. The month's stupid. So 10 years, 25 pounds of food. How the fuck does this idiot think that one will replace the other? Forget about me being morally wrong. Forget about being ethically wrong. Forget about it being idiotic. It doesn't make any mathematical sense. And yes, this dude who has a scientist, a title of who's a scientist, who has a scientist title in his fucking name. He's not presenting himself there as Joe Schmo. He's presenting himself as Joe fucking, Joe the fucking scientist. Stood up in a podium in front of people and tried to convince them to eat their fucking pets. How fucking insane is that? How? How did we reach that point? How did we reach the point that you're so fucking desperate that even the stupidest idea gave you the balls to stand up in front of these people and say that? How? How can you look at yourself in the mirror, guy? How? I mean, I can get why somebody would give him the podium, because if I'm putting up this event, I know it's going to get a lot of attention. Unfortunately, it's not the type of attention that you like, but some people believe that even even bad advertisement is good advertising. So, yeah, I think we've gone a little bit crazy on this subject, and I think we need to slow down, particularly when there are useful solutions already in the horizon. They're already being implemented. And if you just paid a little attention to it, if you just did a little bit of research, you'd realize the other fuckers, they're trying to sell you something, right? They're trying to keep you scared. They want to make you go crazy. And it's, in part, my theory, to buy your boat. And in other part, because they want you to buy more shit. That's it. That's pretty much it. And also, until the day that they start practicing what they preach, I ain't gonna believe shit, right? Until the day that I see them riding on bikes or riding on horses. You know what? If they rode a fucking horse, I'd respect the shit out of them. I'd vote for that individual. I'd vote for the person who rides on a horse. They're like, you know what? Climate's gonna fucking kill us, so I'm riding a horse from now on. But don't horses fart too? Man, shut the fuck up. It's better than the fucking gas guzzler. And I don't know why I'm doing this accent, but that's how I imagine them. That's how I imagine them. So yeah, until they start practicing what they preach, I don't believe you, and I think you're lying, and I think you're trying to sell something. But anyway, that was the dumb news of the day. Well, it was one of the dumb newses of the day. Nooses, idiot. Oh my god, it always happens when you're trying to call somebody else an idiot that you end up saying something even more idiotic. That was embarrassing. I should edit it out, but I'm trying not to edit things out. It's like, all right, I said it, I gotta own it. This is why you have to think before you open your fucking mouth, guy. This is why. Lesson learned. Anyway, so we also talked about this on the show, and I actually got in an argument with Sky about it. So this, I'll just read you the big headline. It's there's going to be a new Monopoly edition that's being released by Hasbro, and it's going to be Miss Monopoly, which basically it gives women more money. So the game starts. Women have more money. When they pass go, they have more money, and there's certain advantages that women have when they're playing the game. So many things wrong here, but supposedly it's the main thing is to show you about the gender pay gap and all that stuff. Now, I don't believe that the gender pay gap is a thing, and until somebody can answer me this question, I won't change my opinion. I've read the data. I've seen all the information, and the reason why the supposed pay gap exists is because they're not taking account all things being equal. They don't do the information fairly, and so but I'll go into the question first. So my question is, if I have a business and I'm hiring people, and I have I have a male worker and a female worker, and they're both equally capable of doing the exact same job. Let's say an accountant. I need to hire an accountant, and I have a male person, and I have a male and a female. The opportunity to hire both. Why would I not always hire women? If I have a small business and I need to hire somebody that I could get for 75 cents less, why would not I only hire women? Right? I don't understand this. Why would I ever hire a man? It makes no sense to me. The job of every manager, the job of every CEO, the job of every CFO is to make more money for their company. A good way of making more money is by not spending so much on salaries. So if you could get a cheaper employee, why wouldn't you only hire them? Right? I don't understand it. Like, if I had a business and the gender pay gap were actually real, I would only hire women always, because that way my company would, if they're equally capable employees, right? Because we're assuming that men and women are equal and they can do the same amount of work in the same amount of time. And well, I mean, there's certain industries where that's not true. Let's say they have to carry stuff or stuff like that. Then it's a little bit different, but still, I'm guessing mathematically it still ends up making sense. So, if I could, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't every single company ever just hire women and save themselves 1/4 of their salary? It makes no fucking sense to me. So until somebody can answer that question for me, I won't believe it. I don't believe it. Also, because most HR departments do the hiring, and I just read a stat that says that over 70% of HR managers are female, and like in general, HR workers, it's like 80% dominated by women. So if the department that hires most people is, and theoretically gives them their salaries and all that stuff, is the one that's not giving women, is the one that creating the pay gap, and it's dominated by women, I'm very confused. None of this makes any sense. So mathematically, it doesn't make sense. Logistically, it doesn't make any sense. And again, if you're comparing, it also has to compare with life choices. For example, like I just mentioned, more women go into the HR department. More men go into the STEM fields. The STEM fields tend to make way more money than HR, because HR, you don't have that much room to grow. On the other hand, the STEM fields, which is science, technology, math, and engineering and math, they have a lot of room for growth, and that's why they make more money. So I think that's a big discrepancy. So until somebody can answer that and can explain that, I don't believe it. So making a board game that's unfair is fucking bullshit. Bullshit for little kids. Like, I feel really bad. Unfortunately, this thing's gonna sell, and I can picture people trying to, I'm gonna teach my kid a lesson. What lesson? What lesson are you teaching your kids? That the world's unfair? No, that I have this image that the world is unfair to women, and so now I need to teach you, who've never done anything wrong. This kid has never done anything wrong. He's still a fucking kid. Well, he's probably done like certain wrong things, but he's still innocent in those crimes of the world. And what, you're gonna make him have a bad time? You're gonna teach him that you're unfair, that you'd rather him try to cram this lesson like that you believe without any real evidence over, and punish him for what? What did he do? What did that kid do? I hate all this stuff when people just blanket blame everybody for this. It's just like, oh well, you look like that person, so you're responsible for that. What the fuck did I do? I didn't fucking do anything. I'm just sitting here. I've never hired anybody. And if I did, I would just look at what's the usual, what's the usual salary for this? All right, that's what I'll pay you. All right, if I can get somebody else to do it for cheaper, I don't care what they have between their legs. If I can get somebody else to do it for cheaper and better, definitely doing it. Oh, unless it's illegal. In that case, you don't. No, you don't want to do it. So as long as it's legal, as long as I can get somebody who can legally do this, and if it's for cheaper than you would do it, and he can do it, and he or she can do it at the same quality, same time, then what's the big deal? It's a free fucking country. You can do whatever you want. So why are you punishing me? Why are you trying to blame me? Why are you trying to punish other people? Why are you trying to punish kids? This is really disgusting. They're punishing kids because this is not going to change the mind of the adults. It's like, oh yeah, we already gave up on the adults. Well, now we're gonna start trying to indoctrinate children into believe that they are the problem in the world. Like, that's what you're telling that kid. I need this to be clear. You're telling that kid that you are the problem. You are part of the problem. Because if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. How about if he's just not a part of it at all? Right? Sometimes we just want to live. We just want to enjoy things. We're just hanging out. We're just trying to barely survive. Most of us are in debt. Most of us are not having a good time. So why the fuck are you trying to blame stuff that big on me? Fuck you. I'm not responsible for your life choices. I'm not responsible that you decided to go into a career that doesn't make as much as another one. You had incentives to go one way or the other. You made a choice. It's your life. You can do whatever you want. Where the fuck are you attacking me? I didn't do anything. Jesus Christ. Also, what the hell are you telling little girls? Oh yeah, you're a victim, so we need to lower the standards for you. You need to start off with a little bit more of an advantage because the world's unfair, and you're a victim already. Even though, again, you've never done anything, you've never really actually had an opportunity to prove yourself, but you're already a victim, and you're already oppressed. And you know what? The world should take it easier on you. You know, it's actually kind of offensive in a way. Now you think about it, it's like, we don't think you could be better by yourself, so we need to actually make you have more money in order to have an opportunity to win in this game. That's what you're saying. You're saying that you cannot be competitive unless you have a head start or you have a system that works to your advantage, which is disgusting. It's disgusting. Anyway, the point is, Monopoly, this is not cool. This is not cool. First off, I don't think that toys should get political. It's a bad idea. I don't even like doing it on my podcast, but it was just so ridiculous and I got an argument with Sky about it. I might ask Sky to be here on my podcast just so that we could argue all the dumb political ideas that she has that are just ridiculous, that make no sense to me. Because I would like to put her feet to the fire and actually make her answer that question. I would like to put a lot of people's feet to the fire and be like, just answer me this. Why? And explain it to me logically. And let's follow a train of thought. Let's just follow this train of thought. So I work at a restaurant, and every single shift, our managers, they're trying to take us off the clock. In fact, here there's radio station too. In fact, at any fucking place that you work at, managers, as soon as they can, they want to get you off the clock. They don't need you, you won't. Get off the clock. Get off the clock. We don't need you, get off the clock. Why? Because every second that you're there, you're costing the company money. And why do they care about the company not spending money? Because the less money that they spend, usually means more money that they earn or they're not wasting. So it makes the company more money because companies want to make more money. And the more money that they manage to save the company, the more money the company makes, the more money that they're like, oh, okay, you're doing a good job. Yay. You may get a bonus. You may get a promotion. You may get a whole bunch of stuff. So if that person who's trying to get people off the clock, who's trying to make, to make the companies the most amount of money possible, why would that person hire the most expensive person? It all comes back to that, If you're hiring a bartender and one bartender charges you $10 an hour, well, actually, no, in California, I think it's like 12. But let's say one is like, I want $13 an hour, and I'll just take to the easy example. One wants $10 an hour, and the other one's $7 an hour, and they both do, and they serve the same amount of drinks, and they're equally good at their job. Now, if one is better than the other and makes you twice the amount of money, then go with that one. But let's assume that they're equally capable, equal experience, equal everything. Why would you hire the more expensive one just because they have a penis? In fact, I think I remembered this argument once that, and it's one of the arguments that convinced me. It was a guy who was trying to explain that the gender pay gap did not exist, and there was a lot of feminists pushing against him, like, no, it's a real thing. And he was saying, no. Well, and if it does, then I'm on your side. You don't understand. This is the thing you don't see. I am on your side. If the gender pay gap exists, and if there's a group of people out there who, for being sexists, they just want to hire men and give them more money, then I want them to pay more money. This is a sexist tax. The fact that they have to spend more money on men to pay men to do the exact same amount of work and the exact same quality of work that women do, then this is called a sexist tax. They're paying more, they're spending more money, they're losing more money for being sexists than they would if they were fair in their hiring purposes. So if the gender pay gap is a real thing, again, all things being equal, then good. These companies will make less money. The companies that are fair will make more money because they're not paying the sexist tax, which they self-imposed to what? Because the other company's going to have better employees and cheaper, and it's going to have more money to invest on itself. The other one, the one that's sexist and that pays men more money just because they have a penis, then that company's going to have less money because it's sexist. And so I thought, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. So, all right. So, mathematically speaking, once you put you put things into the real world, that's why I don't really think it's a thing. But anyway, I know that's not a popular opinion, but whatever. I felt like not talking about popular opinion things, and it was in the news. So what can I say? Anyway, that's it for today. I want to talk about the NFL a little, but I guess not. Not the right time. Not the right time. But hopefully you enjoyed that. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram. I like arguing with people, but that in no way, shape, or form means that I'm close to new ideas. If I'm wrong, please tell me. You know what? I will argue because I don't think I'm wrong. But if you present, I love new evidence. So if you have information that I did not have, or if anything that I said here was wrong, please let me know. I appreciate it. As always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again tomorrow.